What kind of impact do you see in the kid's life by just being a constant?
I For me personally, I've known children that I've seen for a whole entire year running DrawChange, and a lot of the staff from the homeless shelter have come up to me personally and said thank you for this program. Because of you, this child is no longer taking this pill for his behavioral.
Hello and welcome to the Orlando podcast. My name is Tyler Gibson. With me today, I have Cindy Valentin. Cindy, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So, Cindy, you work, or you're the director for the local chapter of a art therapy group. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I work for DrawChange, and we are a nonprofit headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, and then we have several programs around the United States. The second biggest program we have is here in Orlando, Florida, and that's the program that I'm in charge of.
Awesome. So I'll ask you the same question I ask everybody. Why do you do what you do?
I've been involved with DrawChange since 2012. So it's been 10 years now. So it's been a while. I was working in a big corporate insurance company, Fortune 500 company, doing what I thought I loved at that moment, until I couldn't go any further, I guess. And I was kind of getting bored and just kind of wondering if this is what I really want to do. And I started taking university classes again. And I went to a lecture and they spoke about DrawChange and all the work that they were doing in Costa Rica. And that kind of piqued my interest. And I just decided to shoot a message to the CEO and founder. And she's like, yeah, join us on our trip. And I just started going and I just fell in love with what they do. And they bring art therapy projects to impoverished children around the world. Here in the United States, we mostly work with children who are experiencing homelessness. And I just saw the immediate impact when we did the projects with the children, and that kind of blew my mind away. It was something that I wasn't getting from my current job at that time.
Tell me a little bit about the session you sat through that drove you to cold contact the CEO of an organization and then jump all into doing nonprofit work. That must have been a pretty powerful presentation.
Yeah, it was the lecturer. She was just kind of like, this is, I spent with DrawChange for like a week, and this is what they were doing with the children. And the way she just spoke, and I was like, wow, I want to feel what she's feeling. And she was just so passionate. And I remember thinking, if I talked about my job that way, would I look like that? And I think that's what kind of stirred something in me and was saying, and I started thinking maybe there's something I need to explore here. So that's just her presentation and the way she spoke about this organization just blew my mind. And I just kept thinking, I want to be as passionate as this person about what they experienced.
Wow. That's okay. Yeah, that would be a pretty powerful speech. So you cold email. She invited you to go on a trip. Were you still working at your job? Did you just take some vacation time and go on a trip, or had you basically quit and jumped all over?
No, that happened slowly, me quitting and all in. I had PTO days, which everyone's probably familiar with, and I decided to take a week off and just go with her to Costa Rica. She was very excited to have me because she speaks Spanish, fluent Spanish, and so do I. And the group that she usually takes to Costa Rica are non-Spanish speakers. So she was happy that there's another person there to help her out with translation. So I flew to Atlanta not knowing who she is. And we met up the first day right before our Costa Rica trip. And she said, hey, if you want, you can stay over. Again, not knowing who I am. And I didn't know who she was. And I said, okay, like, let's do this. And we talked. And yeah, and that's how we started our journey together and opening
Wow.
different branches. And she kind of took a leap of faith, and so did I. And it paid off.
Yeah. So at that time, was she only working in Atlanta? She didn't have any other branches?
So her main branch was in Atlanta, Georgia. So at that time, she had about 3 programs, I think, running. Then she had a Costa Rica project going on. So
Right.
it was only Costa Rica and three programs at that time in
Yeah.
2012. And then from there, we kind of been exploding.
Sure.
Yeah.
So were you volunteering first here in Orlando while you still had a full-time job? Did you quit and do you raise money? Do you get a salary? How does that all work?
So in the beginning, I was still working my corporate full-time 40 hours a week. And then behind the scenes, I was helping out with DrawChange any way possible. So when I came back from Costa Rica, I realized this was the organization that I really want to continue moving forward with. And I started helping Jeannie, who's our CEO and founder, and started helping her behind the scenes with fundraising, a little bit of marketing, just overall like logistics of running a business. A lot of people think of nonprofit and they don't think that it's a business, but it is still very much a business. And just helping her along the way as a volunteer. I was a volunteer behind the scenes for DrawChange for about 8 years before I actually became a paid employee. Yes. And then I started a program in Brooklyn, New York. I'm originally from New Jersey, and I was living in New Jersey when all of this was happening. So at the same time when I was working my 40-hour-a-week job, I was also starting this program from the ground up in Brooklyn.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And so how did the transition from being a volunteer to being an employee happen? Was it just finances became available to afford you a salary? There was a new donor that said, "Oh, I want her to be in charge in Orlando." How did that come about?
So I've been the most and we have a great amount of volunteers and amazing volunteers that have been with us for years. And I'm one of those volunteers that's been there for years and years and years. And when I started my program in Brooklyn, Jeannie was very much, you know what, you're going to run this and this is what you're going to do. So I kind of took it by the reins. And I think that helped her see my potential and my leadership skills. And that's when she said, we got this funding and I want to hire you on our staff. And she just trusted and believed in me and saw all the impact that we were making in Brooklyn. And she said, let's do this. And at that time, I met my husband, and, him and I were both, in a very expensive state. And we decided, let's move down south. We chose Orlando. And I told Jeannie, hey, I'm in Orlando, but that doesn't mean that I'm not, I'm stopping. So we started a program here in Orlando 5 years ago.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how's the program going, and how is the program funded today?
The program is amazing. It's going. We are definitely exploding here in the Orlando area, which is very exciting for me. We have a new partnership now with the city of Orlando, so we're working alongside with them. They sought us out. They found out what we were doing at a local homeless shelter, and they said, we want you guys here. And I said, okay, let's do this. So now we have this partnership with the city of Orlando. We also got a grant. It's called the Orlando's Mayor's Matching Grant. So we received that last year. And now we're just kind of getting more and more exposure in the Orlando area. Orlando is such a cool city because the community feel here is big and is strong. And because of that, because it's also small, we kind of all know each other and we start getting to know what we do. And the support is honestly amazing from the city itself, and also like grassroots organizations that I know as well.
Wow, that's really, really cool. So tell me a little bit more about the art therapy itself, and some of the things behind it. Why is it effective? Why is it a good tool? Why specifically do you use it with the demographic or your target audience that you do use it with? Talk to me a little bit more about the therapy itself, and so that myself as well as any other listeners really understand the power and the impact that it has. Hey, before we go any further, if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe so you can help us get the word out about these amazing people and businesses here in the Orlando area. Don't miss out on upcoming episodes and help out the show. Now let's get back to it.
Yeah, of course. This is like my favorite part to talk about. So, the one thing that I want everyone to know is that I am not a licensed therapist, and I'm also not an artist. So I'm not a trained artist or a licensed therapist, and I'm still running this very successful program. And what I noticed with our program specifically is that all our projects are art therapy based. So I will give you an example of what we do at the session with our demographics. When we come in, we allow all children, including autistic children. Most of the programs at homeless shelters cannot cater to the needs of autistic children, and the parents just love that we accept children who are autistics into our program. Is actually very beneficial and is proven to be beneficial art therapy. So we also accept just any child. Another difference of ours is that we actually want children who have behavioral problems to come to our sessions, which is another barrier that a lot of homeless shelters face, as they say, hey, this child, they label him as this bad kid, he's going to disrupt your classroom. And I say, I want that child in my classroom. So please have him join us. We use positive discipline. We don't talk ever negatively to a child. When I talk to a child, I always stand in my knees and go down in my knees and talk to them eye level, and I meet them where they are. We never say you're a bad kid. We believe that there's no bad children, that they're only having bad days. With this specific demographic, they are a transient population. And they are constantly moving from either shelter to shelter or from apartment and then back to the shelter. It's very cyclical. And all they know in their life is constant change. Our program is conducted weekly. So they're seeing me and my volunteers every single week. And they notice when we're not there. So we're like, we are the only constant that they see every single week. And which is very important with this demographic because they're in constant limbo of change due to their housing and schools, and they don't remain friends with the same type of children just because of their situation. So those are all very important factors, and we kind of try to bring all that in. So when we are in the session, we have a breathing exercise to help them kind of calm down from all the excitement. I remind them that I understand that you are all living together at this moment. And for this 1 hour, we're all going to get along and we're going to have fun and have a great time. We don't force any children who, if they don't want to be there, I'm not going to force them to be in my session. And I give them the autonomy and, I want them to be there. I don't want them to not be there. If they don't feel like they don't want to be there, then that's okay. We go into an imagination session, which is like a little bit like a meditation. It looks like a meditation type of thing. And then from there, we jump into the project. So there's several steps that we do before we actually jump into the project. And each project I choose depending on the mood of the children. So it's not like a set curriculum where I say, okay, this week we're going to focus on collaboration and then this is what we're going to do. If I see that the children are not into doing art today, then I say, you know what, let's go to the playground. Let's have some fun a little bit. I want you guys to leave this place smiling and happy and positive and think about the time that for this 1 hour you get to be children and not worry about whether or not you're going to get fed that night. So for us, it's very important that it's more important about the journey and not the actual product of how their artwork looks like. But when we do artwork, which we do, we still do artwork, that's when the children really start speaking. And that's when, without even asking them question, you see them drawing and you're saying, hey, what are you drawing there? I'm curious, what is that? Oh, this is, I'm making a payphone, or like they call it, not a payphone, I call it a payphone, but they were basically drawing a payphone. And I want to speak to my dad who was in prison. And they start opening up that way, and that's when you start hearing their stories and you start hearing what's going on in their lives. And they start, their self-esteem is boosted, and they're willing to be talking more. And during show and tell is, for me, like my favorite part, because there's been children who do not want to do show and tell the first week, and then the following week they want to do show and tell because they gain that confidence of like to talk about what's going on in their artwork. And yeah, that's what we're about. And it's amazing to see that. It's amazing to see how the children respond every week, and how they grow in their confidence. And that's what we're about.
Wow. Yeah. So is your program mostly run by volunteers? You're obviously paid. Is there anyone else that's paid on staff, or is it mostly volunteers that are helping you make these sessions happen?
Yeah, it's 100% volunteer led. We have a strong volunteer list, and especially in Orlando, our volunteers are just amazing. I usually have the same volunteers come over and over, and the reason is because they fall in love just like how I did 10 years ago, and they just want to keep coming back, and they see the change in the children that they're working with every single week, little by little, and then they're just like, they tell their friends, and then they come to volunteer. So yeah, we're 100% volunteer run in Orlando and also Atlanta.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of impact do you see in the kid's life by just being a constant?
For me personally, I've known children that I've seen for a whole entire year running DrawChange, and a lot of the staff from the homeless shelter have come up to me personally and said thank you for this program. Because of you, this child is no longer taking this pill for his behavioral, you know, what's going on with them. This child, all he really needed was attention, and we were giving him prescription for ADHD. We're that missing link in a lot of these children's lives, where their parents are incredibly busy. They're trying to find a place to stay. They're trying to get their family fed. They have multiple siblings, and they can't give that time to these children. The staff is underfunded at the homeless shelter. They have, other resources that they need to comply with. And we're there to kind of be that missing link and to give the attention, the one-on-one attention that these children desperately need. So I always feel so grateful for this program. And I'm so thankful that, people see that they see that the need of us, and why it's important for us to be there.
Yeah. Talk to me about the impact it's had on your life.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, it completely changed my life. It turned my life upside down in a good way. I came from a very cushy job, 401k benefits, everything, and I left everything to go all in this nonprofit, and it definitely was gradual. But I definitely am so grateful, and every day is different. It's never the same, that's for sure. And I have a son, and my son comes with me to my sessions, and just seeing him play with the other children and not even think about their situation, but just seeing them play and just them being children is like, for me, like it just warms up my heart, because it's like, wow, I wish everywhere was like this, where for that 1 hour they're not worried about anything, including my son who is very, very, does not have an inch of the problems these children have. But yeah, that has been amazing to see to see my child and the children that I work with kind of coexist together and take out everything else.
Wow. Well, that's really incredible. And it sounds like you guys are doing such great work. If somebody wanted to get involved, either financially supporting the organization or supporting the organization with their time, what would be some of the best resources for them to go look at, or to look for, or what questions should they be asking if some of this is resonating with them?
Yeah, I mean, those are all great questions. Thank you. As far as if you want to volunteer in the Orlando area and donate, to us, definitely our website is just www.drawchangealtogether.org. That's where you'll find everything as far as how to donate and then apply to be for a volunteer in Orlando. We're definitely going to need them now that we have this new partnership, and we're going to be working with a lot more children. And then as far as volunteering with the children, we have training resources. We have, a training video. We have all the information that you will need to be prepared for your first day of volunteering. I always tell my volunteer how lucky we are that not only that we exist, but that you can work one-on-one with the children. A lot of organizations don't have this. And it's for me, it's an immense privilege that I can work one-on-one with this population. And because of that, we are so intentional and we think about everything before we interact with the children. And I can give you an example. For example, we don't assume what the children are drawing. We always ask what they're drawing. It can be a trigger factor for them. The way we dress and the way we appear to the children, we have even a dress coach because we don't want children to be triggered. They're already in a very trauma-induced environment and we don't want to add more trauma. So we're very intentional with the way we volunteer with and interact with the children. And it's amazing. It really is. And it's not the number one thing that I can tell everybody is that you do not need to be an artist. I am not an artist. I'm not trained artist. You do not need to be a therapist. You honestly just need to show up and be there and be present and talk to them, just like how I'm talking to you. How was your day? How what's your favorite food? I want to get to know you. And honestly, that's where the true impact is, because you're seeing them as a being and not seeing them as this is someone who I need to control just because they're a child, which is what they're facing every single day at school, at the homeless shelter, and with their parents.
Yeah. Wow. Good words. Good words. Well, I want to say thank you. We've been talking now for about 20 minutes or so, and I want to be respectful of your time. So if people want to learn more, obviously go to the website. Anywhere else where they might want to check out what you guys are doing?
Yes, we're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. Also, we have very exciting news. Our CEO and founder was just announced as a Woman of Worth honoree for L'Oreal Paris. So now we're on a national platform, which is even more amazing. So you can also check us out on womanofworth.com and learn more about our organization's origins and how it started and everything else like that. Yeah. So it's exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys want to learn more about Cindy, definitely check out drawchange.org. We'll also have some information in the show notes. So thanks again for tuning in today. My name's Tyler Gibson. We'll see you around Central Florida.